that meeting, we said, oh, this meeting today is going to be rather short. So, but then there was a provision. It all depends on how much we talk. So we're not discouraging any talking, but there we are. Any additions or changes need to be made to the agenda that's before us? Okay, seeing none. First order of business, approval of the minutes.
So as the sheriff pointed, I don't think we had form. There wasn't enough of us here for the minutes, so we just leave them as draft. You don't have to make a motion.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Right, thank you. All right, moving to the operations report.
Well, I guess you want to do it again. I can do it. Yeah, do it. Fine.
So, just to give you an update on how the operations been performing since we last met this past month. So I was looking at the slides here, and I have a cheat sheet handout distributed out as well. But on-time performance for the fixed route went up slightly for December. Some of these stats are up through the end of the year. But still doing the ones for January, so most of what you see is up through December. And the lost time rate, which is the way we track absenteeism for our operators, which ties into availability. So right now, you can see that December has improvement in that area as well. And this is all the brutally call outs and sick, everything. So this measures all of that. And then overtime, which is measure we use to track operators in terms of working extra. You can see it's kind of been up around that 7% mark in terms of the wages that. And then for scheduled trips operated, we want to get up to that 99% mark. And you can see it's been overstated around 96, 97% for the last several months. And this basically is when we don't have a bus out on a certain route for whatever reason. Majority of the issues have been operator shortage, the mechanical, other issues as well. Most part has been operator shortage. And this one, and it was asked to go back to 2019. So you can see from 2019 up through January, so we actually did January here as well. How it been fared as far as operators go, full-time equivalents. You can see really fiscal year 21, which comes as part of 2020, 2021, and then also right at the start of the pandemic, see that we had a pretty good amount of operators, but as we got to calendar year 21, which is forward to fiscal year 22, that's when it started to go down. So as restrictions were being lifted, and then nationally, along with some of the provisions that were added to our buses as far as masks being optional, said that with the great resignation. So it was really a combination of reasons why operators started leaving. And you've seen some of the exit information as well. Tied into that. Been still floating around that something range as far as operators. And then this is a stacking number, kind of give you some of the same information to a different type of graph. And then that one dot there is where we are in January. See how we've been faring the last few years. Starting in 2019, see that fortunately, we still haven't gotten up to where we need. You can see that in red, which is 2020. This is a calendar right there. How we keep that really doing the hyper pandemic. People weren't moving around as much because of the uncertainty of what was going on. And this, thanks to Adrian, I did tweet this graph somewhat. This is actually, we had a new booking started January 29th, and the bookings when we do a schedule change. So we have adjusted our schedules to match more so with where we are in terms of our operators. So even with that, we're still short based on our current booking. And that went up to 217 regular runs, and then we add in kind of the lead fully staffed, based on each booking. So our target number for this booking is 267. As of January, we had 246 full-time equivalents. So right now, we're 21 operators short. But as you know, our target number is going to get up to that 300, based on where we are for our booking.
What's the difference between your booking and what the target that you want to get to? Is the reason why you've got that 30, et cetera.
30 something to go. Well, basically, is because when we talk about the service cuts we did December 21, and how we had to adjust some of our frequency, some of our early morning, late night trips. So as we build more of our workforce to cooperate in, the goal is to get more of that service back that we lost before then. And then also tied into expansion as well. As we go into Chesterfield County, more service to Rifle and so forth. And then the fiscal year 23, this is just a staffing number showing how many operators we have each month, full-time, part-time, total trainings. Ended last month with 232 full-time, 28 part-time operators, and 12 operators in training. And this is our turnover ratio. I give credit to Mr. Smith in terms of what he said we were doing, in terms of that trend. But that number, those graphs kind of shot up a little bit in this fiscal year because of this past month. I kind of alluded to it at the last meeting, at our board meeting, that we had quite a few folks retired first of the year. We had 5 operators retired. And some of them were around for like 30 years.
And that's January 23, January?
No, that's the whole fiscal year.
Oh, fiscal year.
Yeah, fiscal
Okay.
year, percentage of turnover ratio.
Okay.
We had a total of 9 operators leave the company this past month, and like I said, half of those were just retired. And then turnover ratio based on the reasons why folks left, just voluntary, involuntary. And then total, but you see the spike in August of this past year, and of course, it's current past month of January. But as you can see, we're going down. New folks are leaving the company as we got into the fall. We got a spike, but it's a mainly retirees this past month.
That green bar right there, 4%, that is a realistic hard number of, you say 12? What's that number? What does that green bar represent? 4%, I can do the math in my head. 1% is 2.6, 2.4, so 4% is 10 people, 10, 12 people?
Roughly.
So while it looks big, 5 of those are retirees,
Yes.
and involuntary means they were terminated against their own will. Let's round that to 1%. That's 2.5 type individual, 2 people right there. That's what that is. So 5 retirees, 2 were terminated for cause. That's 7. It leaves 5 individuals out of 240 something that voluntarily just said, I don't want to do this.
Now, the information that I sent, did you forward that to the other folks? If not, then I could forward
I
that.
might have.
So the breakdowns you gave, we do have that information. Back in the last few years. So I can tell you, like, just for example, in January, we did have 9 to leave, but like I said, 5 were retirees. There was only 1 person actually that was let go for termination, and then we had 3 other resignations for January. And then we had 2 part-timers as well. Yes.
That's a good point too. You know, percentage based on their hours worked.
Yeah, so that's a cheat sheet. I'm sorry. That's a cheat sheet that I'll pass around. I gave them 4 copies of that. But yeah, that's it.
Data chart. That's how you got the data.
So that was this past year, calendar year 2022. How we finished. And this is January the start. It's got to break down the average years of experience people have left, reasons why they left, so forth.
Look, on average, 3 per month resign, that's 36. That is an overcomable number based upon training process. Yeah, I saw trainees downstairs. I saw Emmanuel Cohen, worked that guy for 20 years. We have a class in session now.
Yeah.
Is there 10 or 12 in there? Six, isn't it?
That seems to be the number. We go back, and I've gone back the last few years. We've been averaging class size wise roughly in that 6 to 7 range. Sometimes we'll get double digits.
That's a monthly thing, right?
Yeah.
What's your capacity? We know we touched on that yesterday. How many can you train?
Yeah, we can get in that 10 to 11 range. Anything more than that, we have to split them up and get kind of creative. But if we're in that 10 or 11 range, which we're currently interviewing for the February classes. We still want to stay on pace to have at least 1 class every month. So we're interviewing now for the class that'll start the last Monday of this month. And we're looking at right now roughly about double digits, maybe about 10 or so in that class.
Total number of training hours?
The training hours, I can tell you that based on the way it's been the last couple of years, because we've changed the criteria, it's been roughly in that 10 to 12 week range. So when you get somebody in, it takes them a few months before they can really train to get out on the street.
Especially if they
Don't have the CDL. In some cases, they don't even have a learner's permit. So we have to train them to get their learner's permit as well as get their CDL. So that extends the training. Because they can't go out on the street unless they can go with a trainer if they have their learners, but they can't go out on the street with a veteran operator until they actually get their CDL.
But we do have a training manager that's certified through DMV that can do it all.
Third-party
in-house.
testing
That's
here on
these
site.
companies.
So just to be clear, there is a learner's permit for CDL.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And this is retention, just raw numbers of people who have left for whatever reason. Going back to 2020, the current month, it went out a bit. It's 10, but that's 9 full-time and 2 part-time. So basically, and then we're asked also to bring back some information as far as specialized transportation. So it's actually slides related to that. So this is on-time performance for the care service, specialized transportation. We have to get up to over 90%. That is a contractual requirement. And also that it's an indicator, most industry standard, we have to be over 90%. And for us to be down in the 80s and so forth, to be quite honest with you, is unacceptable.
Have we ever been to the 90%?
Yes, up until late 2021, we were still in the 90s. But as the service started to come back, and the ridership was close to where we were pre-pandemic, unfortunately, the prior contractor wasn't able to keep up with that because of lack of operators. It goes back to that same issue of having enough operators to maintain the service. So with the specialized service, what happens is you reduce the number of vehicles on the street. So that lengthens the trip for some folks, and it affects the on-time performance because it takes longer to be picked up, dropped off, and so forth. So it creates a domino effect. That's why I did it. And unfortunately, as we're going through that transition between providers, the contractor wasn't hiring, they weren't bringing folks in, and then that created that dip in the fall just before National Express came on board in October. See what they've done the last few months to get it back up. So in January, we actually got it back over 80%.
So you said there's a contractual obligation to get up over 90. What is the grace period we're in, or what?
The grace period ended.
Okay.
So we gave them a few months to kind of get the bearing straight, but we have started assessing non-performance penalties this past month. It was $100 per day when they don't perform 92%.
Jim, what's the metric to determine on-time performance for care?
Within the service window, so So industry standards, you have a 30-minute window. You can have 30 minutes from either the scheduled pickup time to pick someone up, or you can do 15 and 15. That means 15 minutes before and 15 minutes after the scheduled pickup. We do 15 and 15. So if they're outside that window, then they're considered late. Hey. So just a couple more side no-shows. This is when, for whatever reason, the customer is not there for the operator and scheduled pickup. So basically, that's a van there, but there's no customer for whatever reason. And you see that number going up. We are going to work with our provider and with our new scheduling software provider, to make sure that we have a process in place to not only track the no-shows, but also to administer penalties to the customers. Because right now, there's no penalty if the van is there and the person is not there. I mean, the van is there, but the person is not there. But we can, as a provider, as a transit agency, impose penalties, which means reduction in service, or tell folks, hey, you've been using the service, so we don't want you to ride for a period of time. So we are going to work on that in the next few months to address this.
Do you have in place tools to announce arrival times or to communicate with the riders? I know you can't mandate it, obviously, because people have different means, but like phone apps or something like that. That says, please confirm we're on our way.
Our new
Confirm.
provider, VIA, does have that technology as part of their package. That's something we had looked for when we were soliciting for that bid. So yes, they do have that information. In fact, Dexter and I will meet with them tomorrow as we finalize the contract with them. But in the meantime, we're going to start working as far as getting them on board in the next few months. And yes, they do have that technology capability.
So are the customers paying?
No, for the care service, no. They're included with free fares as well as the truck. Now, we do have the care on demand service that is a premium service, and we can and do charge for that. In fact, I'll go ahead and finish these and I'll tell you this story about care on demand. Go ahead. So our revenue hours, this is track how many service hours that vehicles are out there and serving customers. And you can see that for 2023, it's down as compared to 2022 in terms of how many hours we have for each one. And like I said, I'm going to explain in a minute what that means for us. And then trips, how many trips we have out there for each month, a similar pattern, a little more in 2021 versus 2022. And then another metric that we use to track the trips per hour, and we want to try to get up to that 1.775 range. So we've been hovering around 1.6, 1.7, it's getting a little bit. But the more efficient you are, is what this measure is, and the other one, which is passengers per hour, which is going to get a little over 2 for that, 2.08, 2.6. It's up around that 2 range. So a little more in terms of what we're doing, in terms of how many people are in the field. And that is it. But a couple things I just want to close on. I'll pass this around. This is kind of a little cheat sheet. Kind of tells you where we are operationally. Mainly as far as operators and personnel, we've been tracking as of the end of January, where we are with operators, years of experience in terms of the people that left the company over the last few years. And a breakdown of the operating classes, how many classes we had over the last 4 or 5 years, graduation rate, which is the throughput. We do a pretty good job there in terms of getting people through the system to graduate. And then the second page just gives you some other additional information, turnover ratio numbers, which are on those slides as well. But one thing last thing I want to point out to you is I mentioned earlier about the care service in terms of the hours that operate. You see fewer hours this past year as opposed to last year, 2021. But the customers, we gave them an option a few years ago of care on demand, where customers can call 2 of our providers, either one of their choice. Right now we have User and round trip. And the customers, it's kind of works like an Uber or a Lyft, where they can call in or use an app, and then they can get a discounted rate of at least $6 of the co-pay per trip. We subsidize up to $15, and then anything after that, difference in the total trip the customer pays as well. It's still cheaper than Uber or Lyft, that they normally would charge, and it's a direct nonstop service. And it also is non-shared. So like our traditional fare transit service, customers are picked up, taken from their origin to destination nonstop with nobody else on board and so forth. Our goal was to get about 10% of our care customers to utilize that service. We started out roughly about 4 or 5%. This past fiscal year, we were up to 15%. Now we're at 20%. So even though people pay for that service, they still like it and they prefer it in some cases. So it gives them the option of if the vehicle is running late, they can call user and get a ride. Yes, they have to pay, but that gives them those choice, gives them those options as well. And like I said, I looked at those stats recently and I said, we're over 20%. That's not a bad thing, but I'm just saying it does create a cost savings because it does cost GRTC about half the money, half the cost to operate per trip. That's number one. Plus, it also gives freedom, hopefully, with the provider, more flexibility in terms of the resources on our care side, so that they'll be able to manage that a little better than they had with the previous provider.
So on demand is more efficient.
Yes, oh yeah, they operate about 97, 98% of the time.
But it costs the company more.
Doesn't cost the company more, but the cost to the customer, but they have to pay for it.
So it's up to about 20% now, which means there's 80% that are doing it the old way.
Yes.
Do we reach out to the other 80% asking the question or telling them about the success for people who, and would you be interested in to, it sounds like 20 going to 30% would be even better.
And I've known some places like do the old taxi voucher program, which is kind of similar, like the old stops in Baltimore. They've been up to around 40, 50%, half of the trips. Over that. We had advertised in the past, and we probably will, because right now we're doing actually a solicitation to extend this service, because it's been on a quote unquote pilot for the last several years, but we're actually making it a part of our regular program going forward. So we'll make sure that those providers do advertise, because it will be more different providers. It won't be the same two. I can tell you that.
You have a pretty good hit rate if you're sending it out to the people who are currently using the system.
And what the providers do along with us is we'll put that out, let them know who the new providers are, and then also tell them how it works as well, remind them, and let them know how efficient it is as well, and the choice and the options that they have.
Do the providers have capacity for the growth, like to increase above the 20%?
That is a good question. In fact, one of them, user, they work with other providers in the area as well. That has been my question to them. They say they can manage it, they can handle it, but they're also a subcontractor with National Express. So they're also doing some of our paratransit service as well as other contracts in the area. So they seem pretty comfortable to be able to continue and grow as we grow. Because we've told them that expect more coming your way. And they did put in a bid for this service to continue with us.
Quick question on overtime. It seemed like the KPI was 6% expected, or the goal is 6%. Is that out for operational efficiency, or is that the goals of the operators? Do they want to, or are they looking to work that overtime? Or is...
No, that's more from an operational standpoint.
Okay.
And budget, more or less. But no, operators know that there's plenty of overtime available. Like if they want it, they can get it. So that's never been an issue for me.
So for the new care on demand contract, are you gonna have 2 providers and more?
Two, more likely two, yes.
The new app that Jim also mentioned will also integrate with telephone savings programs to have the ability so that you can, part of the goal is to switch people who call in to do scheduling. It's a lot more app-based. So you can do your own scheduling and then actually see a large shift from calling in and utilizing those give the customer more power.
The feedback that we, the county staff, have received regarding the care and demand from some of the customers that know it's there but choose not to use it is the economic impact, the $6 per trip, because many of them are on fixed income. So it is a fair.
And for whatever reason, ever since its inception back in 2017, there have been more customers from Henrico County that have used the service versus the city. And even though in some cases they travel further distance.
That was like on day one.
Yes, and it hadn't changed. And that is, trend has continued. 5 years later.
Historically, the standard care service was almost an even split between city and county.
Mhm. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other?
Just real briefly, tracking numbers, our graduation rate for 4 years, just for this group's purpose, has gone from 2019 to now 81, 84, 81, 75%. So, I mean, and our numbers of graduates who have completed the class have gone 46, 32, 31, 42. If we set a training goal for 2023 of 100 operators starting class, that's 8.3 a month. That's very attainable. Very attainable. 8.3 students in a class per month. An 85% graduation rate, which we were at in 2020, give us 85 graduated operators, which would be double what we've seen in 4 years. So if we're able to, I don't know what group or team, whoever we think, a goal of 100 applicants, candidates starting training, 8.3 a month. Very attainable. At an 80 to 85% graduation rate is 80 candidates this year, which would put us 40 graduated operators ahead of where we've been at any point in the last 4 years. So if we're able to set goals for that team and we can incentivize them somehow on that goals, chart, some type of target where they can attract 100 to begin, 80, 85% graduation, we will put ourselves 40 operators ahead of where we've been in 4 years. In 1 year, we're going to be able to do that. So that's great metrics. I appreciate the detail on that. Thank you.
Yeah, because we've been right around that 70 mark the past year or so. And you're right. Just have a few more.
Yeah.
Because we've been treading water for the most part.
Yep.
So we got to figure out a way to get over that hump. And one way to do that is by more people coming in. But the other way also is retention.
Yeah, both sides. And this is just one half of that goal. You're exactly right. A goal of 100 candidates starting class before December 31st.
And we're looking at, I've mentioned in the past board meetings, mentorship programs and apprenticeship programs that hopefully will retain and keep folks and they feel more empowered and will stay as opposed to leaving and going to other places. Plus, we got the other part of it is our contract is up, so there are opportunities there as well. Working with our labor union, September 1st, September. So there's some opportunities there as we go down the road with that.
And also looking into peer support.
Oh, yeah.
For the operators as well. They're out there.
Have we talked about the salary increases too?
Yes, we talked about that.
Finance committee is going to discuss it. We'll discuss it again today.
All right, any other questions, comments?
Maintenance report. Currently, we are back to pre-pandemic numbers with mechanics. We're down 1 GU. We did receive 2 applicants today. We're deciding on which ones we want to hire. And this is our grant for maintenance. Amounts between roll calls are well and beyond our goal, which is 5,200 for the size of our fleet. We try to maintain that at all times, as well as the goal for SpecTran. Our PMIs our goal is 80%, which just shows 90. We're going to adjust that for the next graph, but we're maintaining that on a proper level also. Make sure our fleet, the preventive maintenance. What that does is we're inspect each vehicle at certain mileage intervals, which is 6,000 miles for buses and 5,000 miles for paratransit to make sure everything is operational on it and working to prevent breakdowns on the street. Our lost time As Tim alluded to, it's due to calling out sick, vacation time, things of that nature. That makes the rates fluctuate like they do. And that is the end of the maintenance report. I want to add in there that all the catalytic converters are in. We are waiting on 4 engines to arrive mid-March, and then everything will be installed. All engines will be installed in all catalytic converters.
Painted and everything.
Yep, all painted, all shielded up and engraved and everything.
The whole fleet is CNG now?
The whole paratransit fleet is, yes, 81% of the fixed route is.
Questions, comments? Good job.
Thank you.
Safety.
I'll be going over the safety performance report. Alright, so basically, this is the safety performance report for the month of January. You see the current status, basically where we are right now. This is a performance indicator. And what this is agency averages that I look over to see where the amount of mileage is based off of NTD defined events, accidents. We have to turn in a monthly report each month to NTD, and that's how we come up with the amount of defined accidents according to NTD. And what I do is look at the agency averages, which is 11,540 miles. As you can see, we're a little above that, meaning that we're traveling 11,656 miles between accidents. So we're a little above the agency average. We like to keep it, of course, higher than that, but we're trending in the right direction. Next is just a breakdown of the type of accidents. You'll see non-preventable incidents, which is basically the operator had no control over it. Preventable passenger type accidents where we have injuries that take place on the bus, mainly those type of accidents, and then the pedestrian and bicycle reported incidents that we have. Of course, we don't like to see any type of pedestrian or bicycle type incidents, but unfortunately we did have 2 3 this month. I'm sorry, we had 2 this month and 1 bicycle type incident. And then we go to the traffic incidents. It's sort of the same breakdown. Non-preventable vehicle rear end into the bus is a big thing that we were monitoring, taking a look at, see what we can come up with. We did see that number go down, actually. We had an increase the last couple of years in, for some reason, vehicles hitting the rear buses. But we're happy to see that. We see that number trending downward. Preventable type accidents, usually it's always fixed objects, and that's just basically an operator getting too close to a street sign, hitting a mirror or a tree limb and things of that nature. We tend to see that go up in the summertime because trees are growing and things of that nature. And the Department of Public Works is wonderful with getting out and actually trimming back trees and everything anytime we have a situation like that. So we always welcome those type of partnerships with the city. So we've gotten good results from Henrico as well with helping that out. Bus rear-ended vehicles, don't like to see that at all. This month we didn't have any, and we've been pretty, 1, maybe 2 a month, but we've been steady pretty trending with that number being low. And of course, bus hitting parked vehicles. Don't like to see that at all, but that's actually high for this month. We don't really see a lot of that. 2, 3 is where we usually see that number trend.
Quick question on fixed objects. So just curious, when a driver drives down the road, hits a street sign, doesn't knock the mirror off, but just dings it, is that a self-reporting where they basically say we hit that? Does that become an incident? How does that work?
If they report it in, it is actually an incident. I mean, we'll go out and we'll handle that the same way. Usually we don't get a lot of those. If there's no damage.
You'll see a ding when he comes into the.
Exactly. Yeah, but the operators are actually pretty good. I mean, we try to preach that if you hit something, no matter if there's damage or not, report it in. It might not be a situation where we sit out a supervisor, sit out maintenance, but we like to know what's going on because you never know what might come down the road from that. And as long as it's documented, we like to have that information.
They have cameras on the buses.
Plus, we have cameras on the buses. But we have those operators that try to get away with it, so, but I mean, for the most part, they do report it in whenever they come in contact with someone. And then this is the assaults of verbal and physical. Happy to say that this has really gone down in the last couple of months. We're not seeing a lot of physical anything. The verbal even is going down. We're seeing a downward trend. De-escalation has really helped. We preach that to our operators, and we give virtual trainings, and we have safety meetings, have a great relationship with Richmond Police Department. They send over an officer and they go over details on how they deal with certain individuals out on the street, and those techniques and those tips really seem to, resonate in the operators, especially when they can give the actual experience and tell the story and what they go through, and then the operators can relate, because there's some of the same people that they're dealing with in some of the same situations. So we've gotten positive feedback from that when it comes to the operators. And this is just the definitions of the actual terms, nomenclature that we use on this actual report. A lot of this stuff is defined by NTD as how to categorize certain incidents.
So the bicycle and the pedestrian incidents that you mentioned, to what extent?
So one was a situation where we were at stoplight, bicyclists tried to go around the bus and was continuing on through the light. The bus took off. It was a situation where the operator could clearly see that the bicyclist was there. We would like in those situations for the operator to actually stop the bus and let the bicyclist continue on. In this situation, the person driving the bus continued on, and there was contact between the bicyclist and the operator. Glad to say there wasn't any severe injuries or anything like that, but that's a situation where we bring that operator in, discuss that, go through a retrain, make sure that they are aware of state statutes that are prevailing when it comes to bicyclists, that type of thing, and just make sure we get an understanding of what they're seeing, so that they can, give us feedback on what made them put themselves in that situation, because that's what we try to do when it comes to accident reduction. We want to see, or we want to understand what the operators are seeing out there, so that they can understand not to set themselves up for bad situations. Did not claim injury at the scene.
Was there a marked bike lane?
There was a marked bike lane, but it was over off of Chamberlain. The bike lane also had vehicles parked in it. So it was a situation where the bus was in the right lane. There was the bus was in the right lane. There was a marked bike lane, and then there was cars parked. Some of the cars were parked in the bicycle lane. Therefore, the bicyclists had to come over. Therefore, the bus. And in that situation, what we want the bus operator to understand is when you see stuff like that, just stop the bus. Give the right of way to everybody else, because at the end of the day, being a few minutes behind does not justify, any injuries or anything like that. So that's what our retrain focuses on. When you see situations like that, we want to make sure that you understand that you don't want to put yourself in a bad situation, and there are all other alternatives that you can take to do that. They were minor, they were no injuries, they were minor incidents. One situation was, person was on Broad Street, jaywalking, and walked right out in front of the bus, and the operator was able to stop the bus because we do have a low speed zone on Broad Street for the pulse. And the other situation was the operator was turning the bus right at 2nd and Broad, and I'm not sure what the pedestrian was doing, but he never saw the bus and just walked out in front of the bus. But even though, that's going to happen, and we try to set our operators up and understand that, number one, you're professional drivers, and the burden is on you to be a little bit more professional than everybody else. And we'll bring those operators in those situations. And again, situational awareness, make them understand that they don't have to put themselves in that situation.
I keep thinking about the geometry of the bus and the physical space it takes. And I saw a video, it was not too long ago, I think it was at Virginia Tech's Transportation Institute, VTTI. And long and short of it is they're experimenting, or may have already been put in place, these cameras that replicate or that mimic rear view mirrors. They're getting rid of the rear view mirrors completely.
We actually have a pilot going on with that so far as, so the side view mirrors, the actual camera instead of the actual mirror itself. And we've gotten good feedback from the operators. Some of them say that they do create a little bit of a blind spot, but overall they can see a lot better. And these cameras actually, they're water resistant, so they can see a lot clearer when it's raining. So far as humidity and fog, they have a clear vision, so that it gives you a better vision out the side.
But it narrows the bus too, right?
Exactly, yeah, because it's the way it's geometrically lined up against the bus, it gives a narrow vision of the side of the bus, but it goes further back to eliminate, blind spots. And the next report, this is trending report. So basically what we did was went back June 2022 to now. And these are some of the accidents, the different type of accidents that we have. And this is how it breaks down for those months. And at the bottom is just a total. Cheryl, I might add traffic accidents up there, just as another category to give you a better breakdown of the passenger incidents versus actual traffic accidents. But the majority of these are the breakdown of the type of traffic accidents. Let's say parked vehicle, that type of thing. And this just gives you an idea of how we trend throughout the months.
The passenger incidents or things that happen
On
on
the
boards or board passenger trips while boarding or all other sequences. Those are passenger.
Well, I saw that. Is that important from a reporting standpoint? Because can somebody trip themselves and then blame you?
Of course, yeah. It's more of a litigation type thing reserved so that we can see exactly what's going on. And also gives us an idea of what type of accidents. We have situations where people, what we call repeat riders, that come on and have the same type of accidents. Miraculously, they fall asleep at the same time and have the same type of accidents, falling out of their seats or something like that, So we tend to watch these type of trends and tend to take information on it because it helps out down the road from a litigation aspect.
Give those people a special assignment to sit right.
And that concludes everything that I have.
So, question, so America's putting an extra emphasis on safety, roadway safety for all users. Is there a way we can talk more offline? We get any details of any incidents regarding passengers, bus accidents, pedestrian, bicycle, street, so we can kind of analyze what these I don't know, just failed in the city.
Yeah, so Mike Sawyer, traffic engineering, is Vision Zero with Richmond, and we have monthly meetings with him, and sort of the same thing, any type of pedestrian type accidents, I keep track of all that, have spreadsheets, so yeah, that's definitely no problem. I can get that information.
I assume our percentage is small at this point, but it's with their transit will maybe evolve to regular meetings, but I think at this point, if you can just give us specific details, we don't need names of those involved, but location.
Definitely.
We have a lot of complaints about speeding. Does that impact the drivers in any way?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it goes back to that situational awareness. We know that there are going to be drivers that are going to try to beat the bus. I mean, if you're going around the light, or if you just, in general, people are going to try to avoid buses, which means they're going to speed past buses, put themselves in bad situations. What we're looking for from our operators to understand that we don't want you in that bad situation. They're going to be contributing factors across the board. But we focus our training on to make them aware that those things are going to happen. It's more on you to make sure that you're not putting yourself in those bad situations. When you're making turns, put big emphasis on making sure that the right side of the bus is clear when you make a right turn. Because you're going to have situations where people try to, jump around the bus or things like that. So speeding is definitely a concern of ours, but we're concerned about everything because we understand that there are going to be contributing factors. There's going to be situations where we have classification every Tuesday. And that means we come in and we review all the accidents for that week. It's going to be a situation where somebody else has done something real stupid, real crazy. but did the operator do everything they could to avoid that accident? So that's what we look at, that's what we try to train on.
So when we change speed limits, sometimes, we'll have 15 here, 25 here. How much impact? I mean, I'm sure that the city is talking to you when we those changes, and that makes a difference in your.
Well, it makes a difference, of course, if you slow it down, then it's gonna be more, it's gonna be a lot safer. But at the same time, we really don't focus on certain areas because there are gonna be certain areas that you can't just slow down the speed. There's gonna be certain areas that you can't change certain things. What we want to do is focus in on being safe, having that culture that when you're in certain situations, it's on you to do everything you can to be safe because you can't focus what you're doing on what other people are doing.
Proactive versus reactive.
Exactly. Defensive driving,
Our buses should be.
exactly.
I was thinking more from the perspective that, I don't know how much zoning we have that, but I know that we frequently talk about, let's reduce the speed to 15 miles per hour, which I think is, it's just gonna force people to drive a little bit faster, it's hard to drive 15 miles per hour. But, when you're doing trip and your timing, those kinds of things,
Yeah, because our system, do measure it in terms of the system speed.
right,
And that's what scheduling does as far as how the routes are operated and so forth. But we don't want to put the emphasis on the operators to feel that they have to rush based on the schedule performance. So
Right.
no stress, make sure you get there safe as opposed to get there at a certain time.
any other business? Almost settled. Okay. Mr. Chair.
Shorter than yesterday.